idea that you're in high school. Now you're becoming a young adult, okay? So you went from also just watching on TV or maybe going to an event with your mom and seeing, a local promotion or what have you. Now you're actually going from there to stepping into the ring. And see, that's a real long stretch and a real long step, okay? But the hardest step is the first step, and you've already taken that. So it doesn't matter that you're only 2 years removed. I'm not trying to give away your age. I'm just saying you're only a couple years removed from that, and now look where you're at. Now think about this: if you keep doing everything that you're doing, not missing, training, listening, learning, where are you going to be in 2 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? How much better are you going to get? And again, I'm not sure what your fan base is. I'm not sure who's listening. I'm going to give a couple of book plugs in a minute, but before I do it, I'm going to tell you like I tell you, I give her bullet points. So Cindy, this is what I'm going to tell her, and I want her to do this. Her promos right now should be the same, basically. My name is, I'm here, I have a goal. Okay, so you say your name, Destiny. You have a goal. I'm here at the training facility. I'm learning. I want to become a professional wrestler. The way I do it is I'm attending the Art of Grappling Professional Wrestling School, and I threw a date. Don't pay attention to this particular date because I want you stressing on it. But let's just say, and come December 31st this year, 2023 or what have you, Destiny, no more. Because on January 1st, the enigma, the neon enigma will emerge. Those are your bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. Who you are, what you're doing, what you plan on doing, or where you're going. That's your promo. You doctored up, take it down, up and down. You hit those 4, maybe 5 bullet points, you're learning to speak. Now, in the ring, you're learning to wrestle. You're doing the ropes. You're doing really good. You're hitting the ropes. Then you're doing headlock, switch, headlock, teach you a little bit of wrestling, and you're doing a bump. So you're learning, you're getting a lot of stuff. Now, without giggling, just throw that in there. See, I'll make her smile. She wasn't talking. I was trying to make her at least smile. She was so into me talking, she was like, I'm like, no, relax. So when you get those things, you get this down, and you're doing the calisthenics. Now, I personally showed you over there. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. If they're not bending their ass or getting all the way down, you get your ass down. If they're not doing a push-up properly, you do a push-up properly. If they're not at home at night and going to the treadmill or going to the gym or getting on the stair step or whatever you have to do, you do that and you work on you. That's your own thing. So now you've got all those things. Wow, Mom, Bobby's teaching me how to bake a cake. No, I'm giving you the recipe. Yeah. Here's your ingredients. Here's the recipe. You put it together. And if you do that, I dare say 1 year from now, 2 years from now, look where you're at and look at those shows you're on and see where you're going to be at. Don't worry about, well, here I was doing this. Here I am doing that. Look ahead. You can have a bright future. This business can be so enticing, and you just like that passion, fall in love with it. I've set up, like seeing you personally do this, going and setting up a ring. I've done all that. And still, you see people putting up chairs and carrying the ring ropes or getting microphones ready, whatever it is. Everyone's prepping. That's just part of the business, and you fall in love with it. I couldn't tell you how many ring crews I've been on, and I'm not living in some fantasy land. I'm sitting there because I've dropped the ring, not a ring post, but the side. I've dropped it at the bar right across my leg. About broke my damn leg one time. I tripped in the sand down in Tampa, backing up with the side railing, and like and you, damn it, it hurt. But also, I'm ready for my match when it comes 7 o'clock. Like tape it up, go on, the show must go on, kind of thing. Luckily, I didn't get hurt. But it took a couple of weeks to heal up. But what the point is, like sometimes you think no one wants to set up the ring, But you know what? Some of my best memories are stuff like traveling in a ring truck in Tampa, traveling in a truck up in Canada, traveling in a ring truck over in Europe. I mean, because you get to hear all the stories and you get to meet people. And I've been to Japan and I see them guys in the ring. Man, they get out. Everyone has an assigned job there. Some people do ropes. Some people canvas. Some people that's just where their culture is. So they know their job. They jump out. Two guys are getting this ring post. That's what they're responsible for, and it works like that, you know. But some of your best stories come from that. Like I remember just talking to guys on the way to the show. Like, man, we can't wait to get there. Boom, you set up the ring. Yes, a lot of hard work. Well, you might shower, you might not, and get ready to have your match. You know, like at least spray on some perfume and brush your teeth, and get out there anyway. Like I'll see you in a ring, and we put that ring up. That's your stage. You watch a WWE event and you look at theirs, there are some of the biggest rings, 22 feet or whatever. The one we work in is about 18. But when you look at it, when you pull back, it's a stage. You got the ramps that go to it. And that's all it is. What's the old Rush thing? All the world's a stage. We're merely players. I know it's Shakespeare, but I'm just thinking Rush, that song. So Limelight, I played it the other night. We're out there working, man, So people see that. So see that, Destiny, Anyway, another question or time for a book plug?
You can do the book plug and then I'll ask you a question.
Okay. So I had another drink of the adult beverage there. All this rambling on, you think, well, Bobby's on here on the Keep It Real podcast. Well, I've got a couple books out. And usually on podcast, all I ask in return is let me plug my merchandise. And the merchandise I have right now. First of all, if you want to follow me, I'm not on Facebook. Have not been on Facebook for years. People tell me, talk to me, follow me. I had a very good Facebook account. And when all the political and religion and all this stuff started taking over, and I started seeing hate, I just got off there. Because I saw friends of mine that I knew personally that liked each other. Then all of a sudden they're hating, even in real life. And I was like, man, this isn't real. Why would you lose a friendship over? Because I don't care. If you believe different than me, I'm not going to hate you. I'm going to still love you. If you're someone I love, you know what I'm saying? If you want to vote for that person, go vote. You're voting. That's your civil duty. You voted. So that's good. But I shut that shit down. I don't need it. But I'm on Twitter and I had a really active Twitter account. I'm at Bobby Blaze 744. If he wants to follow me on Twitter, that's the easiest way to get a hold of me. Direct message me or follow me on Twitter. Tell him you heard me on this podcast, the Keep It Real podcast. And I have a really good account there, and I post there often. But Twitter has changed quite a bit, to be honest with you. The algorithm has changed. I won't go into that, excuse me. But I'm also on Instagram under the same gimmick, Bobby Blaze 744. I'm easy to find. I don't post as often as I should on there, but I'm easy to get a hold of on there. With that said, my top bar on my phone is chipped, so sometimes I have a hard time opening this has been ongoing since last year. It actually got broken because I dropped the wrench that tightens the ring ropes. I had my phone sitting right there about this time last year, and I took that wrench and went like this, and it just slipped out of my hand and cracked. And it's right in the very corner of my phone. So the whole top line, and see, the thing is, everything else, how you turn your phone around? You know how you can turn it this way or that way? Well, Instagram is like this. You can't do landscape. It won't change for me. And I had Instagram on my laptop. That was very convenient, but for some reason I woke up one day and it was gone, and I didn't know the password, and it was under an old account. Anyway, I do like looking at Instagram. I am at Bobby Blaze 744. That is the real me. I've had a couple professional wrestlers that I think are very good on independent circuit, and I'll say something to them in person, but I have already said something to them on social media, usually via Twitter or Instagram, where they put their reels out or what have you. And I've had a couple of them come up. These are guys I respect. I see them work these independent. They come up to me and I'm thinking, really? Thank you. They think I'm doing them a favor. They're doing me a favor by just remembering who the hell I am. But they go, I didn't know if that's really you or not, man. You really think I'm that good? And I'm like, yeah, you are. It's people I've seen that come in for FTC or maybe over ASW. or a local show, I'm like, man, this person is really good. I like that match. And they may have posted something else. And I'll say, man, it's good to see you. Nice to meet you. I like this, or keep it up. And I saw someone, he was on Impact, drawing a blank on his name, but I could see his picture in his face. He's in Cleveland. Great independent wrestler. And I saw him doing some stuff. And also someone, I know what it was. He was on NWA also right before COVID.
Okay.
I'm drawing a blank on his name. Anyway, I could see him. Damn it. Anyway, that brain thing. And I wrote him. I said, man, what a match. I'm so happy for you and this and that. And when I saw him at an FTC show, maybe like 2 months later, 3 months, whatever it was, but again, this is pre-pandemic, is like, I wondered if that was really you telling me all these good things I was doing. Yeah, it's me, But I'm glad he remembered me and thanked me. You know what I'm saying? I could see him, but I see his body and everything. Very good guy. But and that's the other thing. Right now, young lady, Destiny, social media, the power of that. Get your stuff out there. Do your journey. I mean, you're on a journey, and it's not the destination. Believe me. You ask your mom, your dad. There's no destination. It's the trip, man. It's the travel. It's the journey. Now, I'm not saying there's not a destination. I'm not saying you don't have somewhere to go afterwards. I'm not going to get into all that. I'm just saying while you're here, while you're on this trip, you're on this journey, and it's one day, man, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this. And the next day, I'm going to get up and do this. And I remember it's one day. And then you're like, next thing you know, you got your first match. And here you are 40 years talking about whatever, 40 years later talking about 42. Geez, a long time. Talking about that, well, you're talking about all the people you've met and the place you've been, all because of this business, all because of my talent, my athletic ability. I don't think there's something up, higher power and people haven't helped me and to get me to where I'm going. But it's one of those things where because of a talent I have that I got to travel the world. I got to go to England, Australia, South Africa, Canada, and Japan. I went to Japan 5 times. When I first got into business, I was like, I just wanted to wrestle. And then when I went to Tampa, I was like, oh, geez. I thought I always want to wrestle on a superstation, WTBS, back in the day when you used to about Tommy Rich and those guys, And I was like, one day I'm gonna be on TV. And that was one of my earlier goals. And then when I got to Tampa, I was like, I saw these Japanese guys coming there and being trained, and I watched Florida Championship Wrestling and went back and watched old tapes of wrestling. And also when I was there, a lot of Japanese guys were coming over, or we used to get magazines and tape trade. Like, one day I'll go to Japan. I want to get good enough to go to Japan, because if I can wrestle in Japan, I can wrestle anywhere in the world. But it's all because, of course it helps someone, say, book this guy. But if you're sending stuff out there, well, I was getting out on that. You got streaming now. You got the internet. You got all that. Put your journey out there, and use that power to get followers and fans and friends. And hopefully they go to a show and they say, man, I remember your first match. I remember, this, or I can't wait to see you next week when you come to Huntington, West Virginia, or I can't wait to December 31st when you have your debut, or whatever it may be, And then if you track all that, if you don't, I would tell you do this. Journal also. Write it down, man. I'm working on my 3rd book, and it's been in my head, and there's about 3 notebooks here and 2 in the back. I got 5 notebooks, and that's about what I need to go back now. I just got to sit down and put it all together. But with that said, I got 2 books. My first book is called Pin Me, Pay Me, Have Boots Will Travel, all about my earlier life of getting into professional wrestling, my first match, my Smoky Mountain run, the whole WCW thing. It talks about Australia, all the countries I mentioned. I tell a story about all those. Then my second book's called I Kicked Out on 2. Well, it's the education of a wrestler. I kicked out on 2. So it's a little bit after the fact, I got pinned the first time. Now I'm kicking out. So it's like that. So the working title for this one is, that's supposed to one at the gym today. It's like, hey, so you have to put this, when you hear it, Cindy, you'll get it maybe. This is the goal of it. It's going to put, hey, ref, that was a fast count. And one thing led to another. Okay, well, the hey, ref thing is a fast count. Well, I know how old I am. And it seemed like yesterday I was this age or that age. And I had something happen to where I was in a hospital. And I'm thankfully still here. And it was pre-COVID, so it probably might have been, who knows, they have a test did. I don't know, but I was, and I was working on this book and I still am, but I'm thinking, geez, that, up there, hey, this is still fast, man. And I used to always believe it, and still believe, even if you live to be 100, like, hell, that's a short time when you think about all the time in the world.
Yeah.
The whole go back to this and the future and it's infinite, whatever. Like, we're only here a short time, pal. Get what saying like that. So I'm like, hey, ref, I'm over here trying to kick out. That was a fast count. But then it's like one thing led to another. So I'm just working on that, putting that out there. But you can find my books on Amazon. Just go to Amazon and type in Pin Me, Pay Me, type in The Educational Wrestler, or type in Bobby Blaze Medley, and on my Amazon, there's on there. There's also actually 3 ebooks that are just $2.99 each. I've got one that's a little bit naughty. Don't read that one. That's just something I tried a different genre because I was in this author's thing on Twitter and I was challenged and I said, someone said, hey, you ought to just put that up there because it's pretty damn good. It is what it is. It's erotica, but again, it was a contest thing and it was all right, whatever. But wrestling wise, I've got there's a Christmas story on there about it's called the Merry Effing Christmas. It's actually seasoned effing greetings, but it's about something that happened to me when I was 20 years old. Destiny, I took a trip with my brother, my cousin, and one of my aunts. We went out of town to Baltimore, to a big city, to do Christmas shopping for our family. And it was just one thing led to another. It's just, we was raw wrestling fans and just riding the car. And I wrote a story about that. And then there's one called Yard Time, and it's actually in the second book. It's one of the chapters, but it was about when I worked at the prison. We did a prison show for about, out of 1,200 inmates that were eligible, about 800 inmates come out on the yard and watched us wrestle. And I alluded to that earlier. The inmates, they segregated themselves. We had a whole section of blacks sitting there, whole section of whites sitting there, whole section of Hispanic people. Then a bunch of other bees, the wannabes that didn't fit into any of these groups. They just, they're outsiders, they're in prison. But kind of like that, we had that feeling of, if you've never seen Shawshank Redemption, it's a great movie. When they're sitting up on the rooftop having a few suds, as Andy said, we made the inmates feel like human beings that day. From 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, we went in there earlier. We went in at 12. We had to be out by 4 because there's a standing 4 count every day across America in the prison system. It's a standing 4. You have to be standing up at 4 o'clock and be accounted for. There's 5 counts throughout the day, but one of them's at 4 o'clock, and you have to be standing for that one. It's mandatory. So we had to be out of before that. So the wrestling took place between 1 and 3. But between 1 and 3, guess what? That guy wasn't a bank robber. He wasn't a murderer. He wasn't this. He wasn't that. I wasn't black. I wasn't white. I was at a wrestling match, and we watched it. And at that same prison, we did that in October. Prior to that, March, Muhammad Ali had been there. So we was at a prison, federal prison, where, again, when you bring gospel music, the Christian people or gospel guys want to show up. If you bring in a religious act, that's who they're going to see. You bring in bluegrass, the old white country guys are going to probably go see it. Say you bring in a rap group, all are black, but they just, so maybe a couple stragglers, but you bring in Muhammad Ali, he transcends, because everyone knew who he was. And he's out there in the yard, he's doing the Ali shuffle and all this, all the inmates, didn't matter what their religion was, didn't matter what their ethnic background was. He transcended that. And he brought a large crowd of all the eligible inmates out to the yard to see him. Well, when we brought in professional wrestling in March, April, May, June, July, August, 7 months later or whatever, guess what? Professional wrestling transcends too. It didn't matter what your religion was, what your politics was, what you were in jail for. Didn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. People, they relate to, oh my God, this is professional wrestling in prison. We let them be human beings for that 2 hours. And when I come back to work that night at midnight, and I was in a unit, I was in a area called the Barns, was this federal prison that had lockdowns, they have different sections. The one section I was working at this time was called the Barn. They have J, K, L, and M. Those, everything's lettered, A, B, C, whatever. So I was out on the Barns where basically you had 50 guys on one side, 50 guys on another, 2 men to a bunk. So you got, 100 people. When I got there at night at midnight and the count went down, people got up out of bed and started coming to my office like, man, thank you, sir. Thank you. I can't. We had such a blast today. The next morning when people were getting up, when I was getting ready to get off at 8 o'clock, there's people that didn't sit there like, sir, I just want to say, I had people from other units coming down to my unit going, hey, Mr. Smedley, hey, boss, thanks, that was great, and it's that. About a week later, maybe 2, I got called to the office of the warden, and he had the numbers written down. And first of all, he thanked me. He said, man, what you did for these guys was great, blah, blah, blah. And he has to approve it, of course, too, so he already knew it was going to go on. And he goes, I said earlier, so about 1,200 inmates there. About 800 are about eligible because some of them are in lockdown. Some of them are 24/7. You can't, they don't leave their cell. He said, out of 800 eligible inmates, he said, only Muhammad Ali, of everything we brought here, he's like, and I don't know exact number, but it's like Muhammad Ali had like 668 people, and you all had like 661. I know there's like 7. It could be different, but there were only 7 people difference that were accounted for. And believe me, in prison, you are accounted for. They knew exactly where everyone's at. He said, you all drew 661 out of the 800 that was eligible. He said, only Muhammad Ali. So that shows you what professional wrestling does. Just like those people the other night, we was up there, that coal community, man, them people, you saw them coming down the street in the middle of the day, hot. They're sitting a ring up, we're sitting a ring up, getting ready for the show, and people are already out there. They're waiting for they're in their chairs or waiting for those bleachers to be moved over there. That's what it's all about. If we're at 2 hours or whatever, and I know you think, well, I'm just rambling on. I'm trying to just tell you the truth. We're keeping it real about professional wrestling. I know you like music. I know you have other interests too, but ask me away, ask a question. Go buy a damn book. That'll help me. Tell people buy a book.
A book, yes. I had we were watching wrestling the other day, and we like to go back and watch older matches. For me, it's
Water, by the way.
For her, it's education.
Yeah.
We were watching the match with you and Jerry Lawler.
Yeah.
1995 Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Yes.
And he had said, your only claim to fame was getting your picture done with him.
Yeah.
He was just going to whoop you like a dog, and that's what you were going to have to tell your kids.
Yeah.
We were watching. That was such a good match.
Thank you.
Such a good match. And I loved it when you rolled him up for the pin and got the title. I was like, man, that's so good. I was like, I wonder what Bobby thought of that match. What was it really like being in the ring with him?
Well, see, the match itself, to me, it was an okay match, but I grew up being a Jerry the King Lawler fan. And I got to wrestle this program with him, and the object was, put butts in the seats and throw a swerve. And anyway, about that match, the reason it was a good match, but to me, see, and when people watch it, I appreciate what you say. When people watch it, they might not think that because it's part of a segment that there was a lead up to it. And then this is what you got. Then there's the finish and then the payoff. So I didn't get to go in there and do all the, let's just say, this flippity stuff or beat them with my Northern Light suplex or, what I'm saying? Like, because I knew going into it, this is what we're doing for business. We're going to start here. This is what's going to lead to. Here's the finish, and that leads to the next thing. But yeah, it was great to be in the ring with Jerry the King Lawler. It was an honor, and since then I was in Beckley. I went to Cleveland one time and was a special guest referee with him and Tracy Smothers. Got to manage Shane Storm against him in Beckley. Talked to him in early October. And that's who I was supposed to have my last match with, was going to bring Lawler in.
Mhm.
and some things didn't work out. So I was going to be with them one more time. And that was the whole thing about my last match. At one more time, um, it wasn't Lawler, it was Jock. But you know what? Jock was Jock was a great guy, wrestler, professional. Have a match with, have a lot of respect for Jock that runs beyond just the FTC thing. I've known him. We met at a JT Lightning show many, many years ago
Oh,
before he
wow.
passed away, and it was a JT. It was a fundraiser for him. He had throat cancer at the time. It was in remission, so he was raising money for his hospital bills, etc. And he was a dear friend of mine outside of the ring, and that's where I met Jock at for the first time. So I had a lot of admiration for his professionalism through the years. But to go back to the Lawler thing, it was a great feeling. I knew that took place in February. I knew right after maybe the first of the year, Jimmy Cornette called me. I'd been off for a couple months. We had talked about I'd been there on and off for several years, and I loved Smoky Mountain Wrestling. The morale was great, and I'm a Cornette guy. I love Jim Cornette. He
I
gave
did
my
too.
first big break in the United States, and I don't care what people think about his religional views or spiritual views. You know, I know, politically, he let Jim Cornette say whatever he wants to say. I'm a Cornette guy. It doesn't affect him and I. And he treated me professionally and personally, nothing but admiration, respect. Anyway, he said, coming up right before November, he's like, no, I have to let you go for a couple months. You got some independent bookings, go ahead and take them, blah, blah. Anyway, fast forward, I get a phone call. Actually, I went to Huntington, West Virginia. We was going to do a show, and I was with. I just saw John Boy from the. He was on Bubba 97 back in the day, 97.1, whatever station it is now. I don't know what it oldies now or Planet Rock maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of those stations back in the day it was country, and we had bought some advertising for it. So I was having dinner or lunch rather with Scott Heston, local radio DJ, and Big John. They're both still on radio. And for some reason, I'd already packed my bag. I was going to go to Tennessee. Well, I was in West Virginia, and I had to come back through here. And for some reason, I just stopped by my house and didn't maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I don't know what I stopped for, to be honest with you. So the phone rang. It's Jim Cornette. Well, I had caller ID. I saw it's like I had to leave town. Again, I maybe lunch finished up quick. I don't remember. I pick up and hey, Jimmy, hey, Bobby, what's going on? He goes, man, I got this idea. He got a minute. I go, yes, sir, I do, whatever. He goes, I got this idea for you. He goes, but I can't have you tell anyone, blah, blah, blah. He goes, just want to let me know, are you interested in this? And I go, well, what the hell is it? Thinking, he goes, well, I got this idea that you're going to wrestle Jerry Lawler at Bloody Sunday, and we're going to put the title on you. I'm like, I was in bed. I like, oh my God. I laid back and started kicking my legs up like a little high school girl that got asked to this prom by the big senior football star. I like, yeah. But I got my hand over the receiver, and I'm sitting there. I go, yeah, Jimmy, I'm definitely interested, I'm getting ready. He was booked somewhere else in Tennessee for Smoky Mountain Wrestling. He said, I'm getting ready to go whatever town it was. And I said, well, I'm actually going to be in Tennessee tonight, too. I'm working, some little local show, whatever it was. He goes, but I'm going to see Lawler over the weekend, and I'm going to run it by him. Or you can be home Monday night. And I said, yeah, I'll be back in town, baby. He goes, I'll call you about 9 o'clock. I said, okay, great. Go do my weekend. I had a couple bookings. Like I said, I did a Friday night, Saturday night, come home Sunday afternoon, or maybe I did a Sunday afternoon show. I'll get home by Monday. Cornette called me and said, hey, it's a go. He said, all I ask you is, please don't tell anyone. Don't. And I didn't even tell I was married at the time. I didn't tell my ex-wife. I didn't tell my mom. I didn't tell my brother. And to my best friend, no one. I was like, that's how much I believe in this business. I love this business. And I knew something was going to happen. And I had to go I took bookings. I was booked because it was like a 2-month period. So I was booked every weekend. And I'd be sitting there, I'd be listening to these guys talking about Smoky Mountain. This is happening, that's happening. And in my heart, I was like, man, you don't even know, but I couldn't say anything, I didn't want to say anything. Matter of fact, these guys booked me. This was really funny to me. I was booked on a Friday and a Saturday for another company, and then was going to be on that show at Sunday Bloody Sundays on a Sunday afternoon show in Knoxville, Civic Coliseum. And someone called me on the Saturday show. It was these groups. You hear about Cornette talking about these outlaw mud shows, you know. I'd wrestled like Friday, and I came back home, was going to go to Tennessee the next day, and then go to Knoxville to do the big show on Sunday. Well, this guy called me and he said, well, Bobby, we just don't have the money to pay you. We're just not going to use you. So there's no use for you to come down here at somewhere outside Johnson City, Greenville, Tennessee, or somewhere. Again, these little outlaw promotion, you know, it's $100 or something. And don't think I didn't need it, but I'm just saying, like, I'd worked for them before, and there's a bunch of goofballs or idiots to this day down there who knows what the hell happened to them. But anyway, and I was like, don't ever plan on working for us again. And I said, okay. And I was a real asshole about it. But and something happened between one of the guys and myself, and it had nothing to do with the promotion. It was more me and this guy. It wasn't anything bad. It was just like, I'd rather not work with this guy professionally because of this, and we had our indifferences. What Egg took his side and said, you know, hey, don't worry about it. I said, okay, don't worry about it. Because I already knew the next day. Because them guys always bought tickets to Smoky Mountain Wrestling. They was big fans. They was just playing promoter, you know what I'm saying? So, so the biggest thing, the funniest thing to me was I won that title. And by the time I got home, because I was in Knoxville, I didn't get home till like 1 o'clock in the morning. My answering machine was full. Hey, Bobby, can you take this book?
Blowing you up.
By Monday night, about 9 o'clock, I saw that guy's number come up. And I just let it go. And he was like, Bobby, I'm so sorry. Man, I'm so happy for you. Can you please take a booking for us? We'll pay you double what we used to. And all that. I never did answer that guy, but I thought that was so funny because I'd still see him at the show once a month when I come to Knoxville. I'd like, see, y'all could have had me anytime you wanted when I wasn't working for Smoky Mountain. And they had a decent little crowd thing, but it was you know, it was a good little payoff for me, but it wasn't great, you know. But I always thought, you bunch of idiots, you know, this is what you get for playing wrestler, not being a wrestler, you know. But Lawler was great. Yeah, I got that picture. I got to get a better picture developed from that, and then of course I got to work with. But the funny thing to me was when Lawler finished me off, then Landau goes, "Well, Bobby, I guess it's you and me," and he climbs in the ring, you know. And I just get my butt whooped, but that's part of the angle, you know. But so anyway, yeah, so I Smoky Mountain champion and got to do a run with Lawler and Landau and White Boy, and you know, got to that TV exposure. And one thing is like the Pro Wrestling Illustrated (PWI) have the annual top 500. I've been in that before. That list of the work. You know, don't ever believe your own publicity in professional wrestling. I try to tell these young people. It's good to get recognized, and it's good to be talented enough when people do recognize your talent. But you don't believe your own publicity. I'm not there. Lawler's there, and I'm there, but we're there together to do business. You know, so if they say I beat Jerry the King Lawler, well, not really. Someone penciled that in. Cornette penciled that in. The Booker penciled that in. So I go by like the old school of Terry Funk or Professor Malenko or Cornette or whatever. That was, who did I really beat? No one. I did business with another person, and that's the way it should be. And it was professional. See, I respect that, and I say that tongue in cheek, just so you know, because I'm not mocking the business, but But it's one of my favorite things that Terry Funk talked about. He didn't beat anyone for the NWA title. He was voted in for that. Now, because he, like myself, where I've been on both ends of it, pin me, pay me, or whatever, you have talent that makes you look good. And when I say pin me, pay, to me, that talent, when my day, when I got beat or whatever, I had a way of getting beat, but also making myself still look good and being the enhancement talent and having someone like Arn Anderson come up to me and say, Bobby, I had a match. And he come up to me one day and he said, Bobby, I put you up there. This was a huge compliment to me. And it's hard for me to say this to you all. But he said, I put you right there, Brad Armstrong and Bobby Eaton. There's no one here we can't put you with that you can't do something with in that ring. And that's what you're here for. I said, yes, sir, because he's my road agent. I never forget the things Arn and I used to talk about. And on his podcast, that's been about 3 years ago or so now, the guy interviewer asked, said, who was some of the best enhancement talent you worked with? Now he could have named all these different guys, and he goes, well, Bobby Blaze comes to mind. He was always professional and easy to work with. Wow. I was like, my phone blew up. Shane Storm and a bunch of other people started like, Bobby, and I'm like, oh my God, for him to say that. So we started doing Double A's favorite enhancement talent, Bobby Blaze, Double B or whatever. But then he named Brad and George South and all these great guys, Barry Horowitz. There's so many guys out there that are carpenters. I hate the word jobbers, but if you're a carpenter and you're good at something, you can build something. You can build a house. You can, same thing in wrestling. You can build a match. You can build a career off of enhancing someone else's talent and by using your talent. So, but yeah, Lawler was good. That was the best I'm known for. That's pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, that's real good.
I had someone say this, and both these people are deceased now. And it was a local guy that used to wrestle. I love the guy to death. His name was Dark Shadow. And he was a really good friend of mine outside the ring. And he was wrestling all these little local promotions for years. Great guy and local businessman, but he wrestled under a gimmick, and it was great. Anyway, he was saying that someone stopped by and they said, I went to WWE and done a couple, I wrestled Roddy Piper in Huntington, and like, that's Roddy Piper. I got spit in his face. Yeah. So, and someone went on and they said, this one of these local guys way back when, I said, man, I'd never go on, I'd never do this and do it. And the guy looked at him, he said, Bobby, I told him, I said, you are an idiot. You wouldn't do that, because that guy, out of that, he got more bookings and TV exposure and had a really good career. He got to go to Australia and Japan. He goes, he was telling this guy, I said, you never wrestled outside of, it was locally, so I won't say where, but he just buried him, and I'm like, yeah, he didn't realize, I got paid in that one night more than what he probably made in a year on professional wrestling, just that one night. And it wasn't a lot, don't get me wrong. I'm talking about the one guy that was the idiot that said it. The other guy was a well-to-do businessman that just loved wrestling, and he was a dear friend of mine. But he defended me, saying, you wouldn't do that, or you crazy. And then I've had someone say something in a locker room or something. Anyway, again, I'll refer to Shane Storm because he told it to me. And he sent me the message, and he goes, Bobby Blaze, he got to go to Australia and all these different places. He goes, Japan 5 times and blah, 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 be on worldwide TV. He goes, yeah, I'd trade his career. Why would you even think, like, if you're not, because it's an idiot, I love this business. Why would you not want to, wait a minute, this is my thought. Wait a minute, you're going to fly me from here to wherever destination you want me to go to, whether it be Dallas, Fort Worth, Atlanta, Tampa, you're going to fly me there. You're going to feed me in catering. I get to go out there and do something I love doing, whether I wrestle Barry Horowitz or whether I'm getting killed by Goldberg. I love it. I'm getting paid to do something I do, and then I'm going to come back home to my family and have money to feed my family.
Yeah.
I you know what? That's what I love doing. That's what I was trained to do. So, and I don't take it personally. That's just, whether you give me praise, you say, why'd you do this? You're probably like, you know what? I just don't take it personal because it's business only, and that's why I want to see everyone. Destiny, I want to see you do good. I want to see all the students do good. That's why I want to pay it forward for everyone, and I did this one thing way back when I was talking about that first match, 1988. I come home and exercise after I drove 5 hours to Hayside, Virginia. Afterwards, we went out for pizza. That was our big banquet meal. And then I drove 5 hours home, and I got out of the car, and I started writing in a notebook. I started doing exercises. Like, I'm going to do this. After that first match. But one thing I wrote down when I was first starting, I kind of wish I changed this, but then again, I wouldn't, because I know me. But I wrote down in there, from this wrestling business, one day I'm going to be a millionaire, okay? But I'm not going to be a millionaire. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. In money, I'm talking about, I want to be a millionaire in friends. I want to be a millionaire in people I perform in front of. And I used to keep track of every match. There's 700 people here, 1,000 people here, 300 here, 17,000 here, wherever I was at, I write down. And I stopped logging that almost close to about 500 matches. I said that. I wish I hadn't, but also I wish I'd have put, yeah, I should have put, I want to be a millionaire in money too, and but still have a million friends, but luckily, and this before social media, I think where I traveled and got to do this, I'd like to think I performed live in front of a million people, and then since, of course, with the streaming and internet and all that, I know that I've performed. So that million, maybe hundreds of millions or a billion by now, I don't know, but someone has seen my talent, and I just want to give it back now because pay it forward, it's a love of people, of making people and the fans happy, making them boo, bringing them up, bringing them down, but sending them home going, damn it, I can't wait to go back and watch that guy get his butt kicked next week, or I can't wait to tune in next week to watch that guy win. That's what we're there for, providing that for people. And I've been blessed, fortunate enough that I'm still like this, being on this podcast. It's a pleasure, Only thing I'll be doing anyway is I go to the gym every day. I went to the gym, I'm gonna blessed to have a meal in a home, and have a cold beer. And tomorrow I'm gonna get up, go to the gym, and then I'm also get to go train and help people, And so I know me, I know what's happened, the trauma and this and that, and you're like, but this is one thing, and I can't get up there in the ring. Hell, half the time I can't walk down the street. I just wrap my knees up and keep on going, and that's all we can do is do our best. And I hear that all the time. And people, I put it out there every day. I just try to put out the good stuff because I figure this, if you put it out there, man, if you put everything out there and expect nothing to return, I put out that love. Put out there every day if you can. Try to love someone, be kind to someone, have gratitude in your life, Those things are important. And I try to do it with the students, teach them little lessons that I've been taught, things I've learned through my life, and give it back through his business. Anyway.
Well, I will tell you from experience, and I know Destiny will too. She talks about how much you can tell. She's like, you can tell Bobby really cares about us. And I'm like, well, I can tell when I watch. But as a fan, even before she was coming there, I can say that you are one of the most personable professional wrestler that I ever met. I felt like I'd known you 100 years when I first met you.
Yeah.
And so that was a blessing to me.
I appreciate it because see, that's the way I want it to be. That's the way it should be. Is Bobby Eaton told me a long time ago. We were at EA Sports up in Canada shooting a video for Mayhem. EA Sports is in the game, all those big things. Mm-hmm. I was blessed to be in one of those. I got to spend a month up there with Sergeant Billy Parker and Lash LaRue and me and Bobby Eaton and myself. We did all those. There was over 600 moves of that motion capture that you do for a video game. Well, I'd never have done anything like that, but I got to do it, and it was great. It was a great. But got to spend time with Bobby every day from it was like a job. The limo would pick us up at 8:30. We'd get to the set at 9, work till 5 with the lunch in there, and then you're back to we put us up in townhouses, not a hotel, but a damn townhouse, because again, it's a big company, EA Sports and WCW. They're putting this money out here, hoping to make it back. When it was the first time EA Sports had done a video game. On wrestling. They had NASCAR and football and all that, soccer. But anyway, Bobby was like, we were sitting there at dinner one day or in a limo, and every day I watched Bobby. And I'm like, damn, man, he's got something different. I always loved Bobby. Bobby Eaton was one of the first people I even met before I had my first match. I'd go to Huntington. I saw Bobby Eaton. I was such a fan. I actually met him as a fan before I was in a business. And he'd say, hey, boy, how you doing? And they always talk to me. That's what Bobby didn't say a lot. And I tell him I've done this, and then he goes, that's good. He goes, y'all talk to Corny, man. Y'all talk to Corny. And he'd say stuff like that to me. Even I had a couple of matches. He goes, well, talk to Cornette. Hey, boy. He was just so good to me. It didn't have to be. But anyway, years later, and I wrestled with him and traveled, got to know him. But this particular time, we got to spend up there about 22, 23 days. We was up there shooting that video. And we were sitting there one day, and I was like, man, Bobby. And he just said something like, well, he said to me, hey, Bobby, he said, it doesn't take anything to be nice to people. It doesn't cost you anything. Just be nice to people. That's all it is. I was like, man, it's that simple. And I started watching. I'm like, yeah, it's that simple, really. And like I said earlier, you couldn't find anyone to say anything bad about Bobby Eaton, because he's a great guy. Well, I started thinking about some of these people I met in the world, like uh, my brother is a great person. And I watch his example sometimes. I'm thinking, man, that's the kind of person you ought to be. Be like that guy. And then maybe someday, and I do something good, and people say something like, "You just handed me a great compliment." I take that with great pride, and I appreciate that because I do believe in love and kindness and uh, having gratitude and being thankful. And then also, like I said, we've said it several times, the power of just putting it out there and pay it forward. And it's like this. Now, Destiny, you probably haven't heard me say this, but you will at the school sometime. And that's this is, and I heard Danny Trejo say something like this. So I put it in my words. So if it's a reflection of someone else, it's not meant to be. But and you know who Danny Trejo is, been in.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So he said everything good that happened to him was, and I say it my way. Everything that's good that's happened in my life is a direct result of me being helped by someone else. I've helped other people, but other people have helped me here. To me, when I do something nice for someone, I don't expect anything in return. It's because someone has given to me or been nice to me. Everything that's happened to me is because someone else has put something before me, and I'm looking at them like, that's how you're supposed to be right there, like I don't mean to get caught up in the words or the emotion or whatever, but everything good is a direct result. Me helping someone helping me. Pay it forward. What goes around comes around. We're on a buddy system. I say that when I was in Canada for the first time up there. I got to do 2 tours of Canada. One was 16 weeks, one was 18 weeks. You're in the car with these same 4 or 5 guys every night. You're seeing them at the building. You're seeing, and that's what Babyface Hill stayed apart up there. It's way back when, 90, 91, 92, those years. And you do get a car, and it's the same guys every night. And, no one's getting rich, but we're getting paid every week. We're working 7 towns, 7 days a week, sometimes twice on Sunday. I get to learn so much. And I'm thinking, I'm getting paid to be here. I love this, but you're on a buddy system. So maybe you didn't have enough for a hot dog that night, or a beer, or a hamburger, or needed some help kicking on our rent that week. I got you. We're in a buddy system. Because what goes around is coming around. And so, yeah, you pitch in an extra 25 for rent that week. Well, maybe someone next month, the next night or 2 nights later, they pay for your hotel room, like, oh, I got you this night. And you're like, I really needed that. So it's kind of like that. I just think it's, what is it? Karma, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. If you ever watch My Name's Earl, I guess, like, do good, do good, I know it's a funny comedy, but it's kind of true, you do something good for someone, don't expect anything, but again, I appreciate that, because the same thing, like reflection of Bobby or Bobby Eaton or Bobby Blaze or my brother Jim, or someone else that's been in this business. It's a direct result of doing the right thing, I guess. That makes sense.
Absolutely.
I do love this business, and again, Destiny, you wasn't there back at my birthday party they had back in June, and I told a little thing. It's like, as much as you students think I help you, you all help me, believe it or not. I get so much from being there from the students, and I've never ever, when I yell and cuss and do this and do that, I get so excited and I start stumbling over my words and cussing or ranting and raving. Well, I've never been mad at anyone there. I've been upset or have an opinion about something, but it's because I want to see them do better. That's the only reason, is because I'm like, if you just saw it the way I saw it, just that little bit more, if you just get it. So it's not that I'm getting angry, upset. It's just my way of coaching or teaching. I'm like, and then when it comes around, they're looking at me like, someone Smarty Marks, the referee, it got back to me. I won't say who threw. A good friend of mine that's in the business, and he'd been refereeing. He started off wrestling. And I kept watching him. I thought, man, this got to be a good referee. So one day, the way his schedule was, it started working out to where he's at the old building, and I'm not trying to tell his story, but I'm the one that gave him the name Smarty Marks because I kept watching him and I liked him. He's a good kid. And anyway, he refereed about 3 or 4 months, and someone else was on a show that knew me. And they come back and they said, "Hey man, you know Smarty Marks?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We was at a show the other night." He looked at me and said, "You know, Bobby Blaze, he might know a thing or two about this business because he's one of the best referees in this area now. I love to see that he's succeeding in something that I love, that I had a little small part of me saying, you know, you'd really be a good referee because I saw it in him. And he didn't even know he had it in him maybe, but he loved this business. I saw that, but also I see him investing time and getting booked and doing those little things, you know. So that makes me feel good. That's just one example of someone saying, yeah, Bobby, he might know a thing or two, you know. So maybe I do. Hell, Cindy, I don't know. I just tell you that's my story, you know.
Well, I'd say, you know, a pretty good bit. You know, I mean, you're training wrestlers and teaching people how to be good to each other. And I mean,
well, I'm just old and beat up. What more would I be doing, honestly? Back to the COVID thing, you're gonna be sitting there in a chair on a couch, clicking through channels, watching Tiger King or some bullshit like that, you know, because that's what's on, you know, and you're like, oh man, this is driving me insane. And also, I know I've had mental health issues in the past, and I think we all do struggle. And I'm not making light of that. I'm just saying, like, you know, we've all been, if you've had anything to do with depression or anxiety and these type of things, you're sitting there going like, man, why am I going through this? And maybe you get in a rut, but you know, just like I tell my doctor, he speaks to me and I speak to him and then freely. And what I try to do is this: if I'm having and I've had bad days, and the seasonal depression is real, and I'm just like, oh, geez, it's going to change soon. So if you see me like blah for a couple of, what happens to me is this: I just say, I take one day, like today was a good day, and I try to string those days along. Like let's just go back even last Tuesday. Last Tuesday we had camp. We done this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay, here comes Saturday, big show. You know, you're getting up, and I wrote down like I know I'm had this podcast tonight. If you asked me to be on Thursday, I had that to look forward to. Then I'm meeting someone in the gym tomorrow to train with. Then I'm gonna be at the camp tomorrow, and then probably see my granddaughter on Wednesday if all goes well. You know, so I just take one day and try to make it the next day and turn that day into a week and then turn that week into a month. You know, you just try to. So yeah, you know, you've been on the other end of it where you're going like, don't want to be around anyone. It's dark today. Just chill out. You know, don't, you know, get through this. Get your ass off the couch. Go to the gym. You know, go out there and do something. Go out there and do something nice for someone else. You know, hell. But you know, we all get down. You know, I'm no different than anyone else. But then you hear kind words or encouraging words from someone, and you think, man, you know, this is the way I want to be. I can be angry, hateful, mad, pissed off the world. That's not going to do me any good. You know, it really isn't. And it's not going to do anyone else any good either. I see a car pass me, and they start yelling or cussing at my driving or something. And I say, you know what? Used to, I was young one time, I might say, screw you, whatever, you know. Nowadays, you never know because people are crazy out there more than ever. But I just think they do that now, and they pass me, or they, you know, I do in my head. I like this, like move over, scoot down, get out of the way, turn green, whatever. You know, you're driving. I'm talking to the other traffic. I'm just talking to the lights turn for me and this. But I say, yeah, go on down the road. You be someone else's accident. You ain't gonna be mine. You want to go first? There, go. Don't cut me off. Get in front. I don't care. I ain't trying to be out there, you know, trying to wreck people, or if I see them at the store and they're hateful to the cashier or something. That little girl, she's just up there making minimum wage. She just trying to get me a lottery ticket. You know, I ain't worried about, you know, this guy going to yell about he didn't get that right or this right. I've done that. I've been there the other side, and you realize this girl's destiny. For example, this girl's like 20 years old, and she just trying to be a cashier, and someone's going to raise hell with her. I'm like, man, she's just here. Let her do her job and get the hell out of the store. Pay for your gas and move on, because I'm just going to buy a beer or buy my lottery ticket or play for my gas or what have you. I ain't going to get upset if she, gets it wrong. I see her at the gym too. This person I'm talking about. This little sweet girl like yourself. Like, I'm nice to her at the store. And guess what? When I started the gym, finally, I'm like, I know that person. I'm just minding my business like I try to do. But I'm like, she started talking to me like, where do I even know you from? She goes, I work at the store. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And she was, one of the things like, oh, why would I go in there and give her a hard time though? She just trying to do her little job and go to school, be a college girl, whatever. I'm going to yell and cuss at her. Give me my change. I'll pay you the exchange. Same thing with you, Destiny. You're up there working. You're trying to be a professional wrestler. You're in training. You do anything. Just do the best you can do. If you do the best you can do, that's all you can ask of yourself. And that's all you can do in training, whether you go to the gym, work with your promos. Like I told you, you have the outline for it. And that's not going to be forever. That's going to be for the next few months. Then it's going to start changing. And you get better at that. And I know a couple people there. Again, I don't want to mention people at the school because if I do, I'll forget someone. And I don't want to do that. Like, oh, you didn't mention me. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, it's not because I don't want to forget anyone. I'm just saying, like, I've seen people go from little short promo to not even talking to like next thing you know, they're speaking in sentences. Then a sentence will become paragraphs. And maybe they do theirs in bullet points and they go, I'm going to pop, 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 boom. And they do that. And next thing you know, they get very good at it. And you give them a chance on these shows, these small shows like we've been on here. I say small shows. They've been really good shows we've had all summer, Lawrence County, Boyd County, those fairs, Catonsburg, Martin, whatever we're doing, student shows, which we're going to have, a couple of those still. You get that microphone, it gives you that experience. So if you do get an opportunity with another organization, company, or as your career enhances, or you keep on going, you'll go back to like, you want me to do a promo? Here. And you start your promo and everyone goes, whoa, where the hell that come from? That'll get you over. Show up with a killer body, everyone's going, what? Look at that girl or look at that guy. I see girls. I saw a girl, another girl. I only go to a couple places to shop. I saw a girl one day, cashier at another store, manager, and these two firemen walked in, and that girl went, whoop, and she's about 30 years old. And I saw her like, just look at these two firemen. I saw her like, she wasn't ready about anyone else. She went zoop and zoomed in on the two guys, firemen. I'm like, woo, like I tell you, girl fell in love with professional wrestling. You're like, that girl, she likes firemen or men in uniform. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you see that, you're like, that's a reaction. So you get that body. And then you're like, wait a minute, this girl's got a good body. Just saying Rhea or you, okay? Then you say, this girl can talk. And then the match takes place, and you're like, oh my God, Destiny, this girl, the Enigma, you got to see her because she can look good, talk good, and wrestle good. And that's how you do it. There's the ingredients. There's the recipe. Go bake the cake. That's for you and anyone else listening that aspires to be a professional wrestling. And that is in my second book, I kicked that on too, The Educational Wrestler. Available on Amazon. There's cheap plug. Anyway, just saying. I know we're getting close to almost 2 hours, but I'm ask anything you want. I'm here to keep it real,
Yes. Mm-hmm. Destiny's going to ask you a question.
Okay, go ahead.
What was your most memorable match that you've ever been in to date?
Oh, God. Let's see.
You're asking a hard one.
No, because I've been fortunate enough to have so many. This one here, I'm gonna go around it for a second. Let's see. So I wrestled in Australia, Canada, Japan. So I have a top 5 of my personal best matches, memorable. I'll share 2 with you real briefly on one of them. One of the best matches I ever had was in Dayton, Ohio. Toledo, Ohio. I take it back. Toledo, Ohio. against Chris Benoit. And all feelings aside of personal tragedy, I knew Chris Benoit. I was in Australia with him, and I saw him wrestle. And I was a fan of his because I'd seen him on tape in Japan anyway from like 91, 92. This was in 93, so a long time ago. And then I get to wrestle him. Well, a bunch of things happening, and we get to go out there. We're like match number 23 out of 24 because we're shooting Saturday night, TBS. And we tore the house down. It's one of the best matches I've been in my life. But we went at it, and so many people. The following year, we're back there. I'm with Scott Armstrong, Steve Armstrong. They're walking from me. We rode in the building together. But right behind me is Norman Smiley. And he goes, "Hey, Bobby, isn't this that building you had the that match with Benoit with?" And I was like, I turned back around because I'm a fan of Norman Smiley. He had been trained by Malenko's too down in Tampa. He come over from England. And at the time, he was living in Miami when I first met him. He was living down there. I think he hadn't been to Mexico yet. He might have been. But anyway, nonetheless, I was like, "You remember that?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Because I remember the best match of every card I've ever been on." He goes, "I always try to remember it." He goes, "You all was semi-main event that night, and you just tore it down." And I was like, "Thanks, So, yeah, that comes to mind. Excuse me there. Then the other one I'll tell you about, this is probably, I'll put it up there, is the Great Sasuke in Japan. The Great Suzuki, Great Sasuke, however you want to say his name. He owned a company. Masa owned a company. He had a tour bus. This is Michinoku Pro Wrestling. He had a ring truck and big, nice tour bus like Greyhound, And I'd wrestled for him before. I'd done a couple of tours there. I want to say by now it's my third tour of Japan probably. And we go to his hometown, Iwate. It's northeast professional wrestling is up in northeast part of Japan. And we're in his hometown. There's about 2,200, 2,500 people there in the building. And I get to wrestle him for the championship, the Universal Michinoku Pro Championship title he has, whatever. But we're in his hometown, and he picked me personally that night to wrestle with. And, man, I was nervous, just nervous wreck. And I knew I could wrestle. And I'd been in tag teams with them, 3-man matches. Over in Japan, you do a lot of 6-man, so you got 3 on each team. And when you wrestle with this guy, it's like wrestling the Invisible Man because he's so good. You're just touching him, and he's moving and flying. He's so professional. So it's unreal. And so we go out there, and in Japan, when you do a championship match, they present you with a flower bouquet before the matches. They make a big deal with it. Your girls are out there with the presentation. It's just a big what's the word I'm looking for? Tradition. And it's such an honor. And we wrestled. The match went almost 17 minutes, and he done all his flippy-do stuff, and I outside the ring, and I caught him. His head was about that far from the concrete. I was sweating, and he did a shooting star press off the top rope outside the ring, and he wore a full body gear, and I went to grab him like this, and I felt him just shooting through me so fast coming down. At the last second, because he's almost as tall as I was, at the last second, I thought, man, if I don't pull him in, he's going straight to the concrete. And that had happened before, and it's happened since because I've seen things happen. But on that particular night, when I felt him, I just took straight back, and I pulled him where he landed on top of me like I was supposed to. And the place just went crazy because I took that big bump. But I also saved him from crushing his head into the thing because that's what I was supposed to do, was catch him in that. And then we went to the ring, and he put me in a finish, and I think I escaped the first time the way it was set up. But anyway, the second time he went to the top rope and done a big flip, and my arm was out, and he caught it, and it caught me in the Japanese arm bar, and it like submission, but the place went erupted. So that, to me, probably Great Sasuke in Japan was one of my greatest memories of matches. I can sit here and tell you, if you don't know who people are, Great Sasuke or Benoit or whatever, like I tell you, like I mentioned wrestling Roddy Piper earlier, Jerry the King Lawler, all these people. But also, if you ever heard of a guy named Goldberg, I was victim number 67 in Orlando, Florida, and so I've done that for Worldwide TV, and there's myself, Bill Goldberg, and you're looking number victim 67 or whatever Bobby Heenan come up with that night, Bobby Blaze, here, jackknife, spear jackknife, Pt.2. And when I come through, I have a mullet back here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but time I had a real long mullet. Terry Taylor waiting for me. Well, when he snapped me around on that jackknife, my hair brushed the mat, went right. But so that's how close, but he took care of me. Terry Taylor, like, how was he? Because they're building this guy. Like, great, easy, He take care of you? Yes, sir. He took care of me. Got my job. Make sure I reported back, hey, yeah, that guy did great. I got in the back, and I'm sitting there, and I'm bending over here. You can't see me doing this now, but I'm over here untying my boots, right? We're down at Universal Studio in Orlando, Florida. We're this huge, imagine our training facility times 10. It's blocks and blocks long. They got a ring for 300 fans. They got a huge dressing room, catering, everything. It's a studio. I'm sitting around taking my boots off, and Nick Patrick comes up to me, and he goes, "Hey, Bobby, what you doing?" And he refereed the match. And I go, "I'm taking my boots off." He goes, "I don't know how you're doing that." He goes, "The last time I saw him, they was out there in the middle of the ring." He said, "Goldberg speared you right out of your boots." But he hit me in the middle and took me all the way to the corner, and then did his jackknife. But he's making a joke, like he hit me out. I was like, I just started laughing. What are you going to say? Like, yeah, he got me pretty good, But so yeah, those memories, Destiny, are just tell you about Lawler or whatever, or Buddy Landell. I wrestled Buddy Landell one time in Lafayette, Tennessee, and he'd been kind of lazy. And Buddy would first tell you that I'm not talking of the dead. I love Buddy, and there's a whole video of that on YouTube. If you go to Bell to Bell Bobby Blaze, there's about 200 videos where Jeremy, the Professor Vilmer, and myself, and Tex Johnson there's a lot of video. There's over 10,000 subscribers. I was telling you, Cindy, they're still up there. But I got a whole thing about Buddy on there. But he had demons, and we all do. And he was just he got one night, just he didn't want to work hard, like he's laying down on me. And then so the third night, I'm sitting there, and I knew something was going on. But Cornette was up in WWE, and Sandy Scott was the agent, and he just went into Buddy, and he said, "Buddy, if you don't have a good match with that kid right there," and I didn't say anything. I wasn't about to. I didn't stooge you when I'm not a stooge. But he looked at me and he goes, "Buddy, if you don't have a good match with that kid right there tonight," he goes, "I'm firing your ass." I mean, he just got on him because Buddy was just kind of just getting through the matches. He knew the boss wasn't there. And again, he might have had an off night or what. Because Buddy, I'll tell you, if Buddy was off, Buddy's off. When Buddy Landell was on, there was no one better. So I have a lot of respect and love for Buddy. And that night in Lafayette, man, we went out there and he called the match and he bumped and did this. We went about 20 minutes, and I was a Smoky Mountain champion at that time. And he put me over in the middle of the ring, 1, 2, 3, and I mean, he just worked. You're in a match, and someone's doing that much and giving that much and making you look that good. It was just incredible. And then fast forward a little bit later, he beat me for the title right here in my hometown. He beat me in Johnson City, Tennessee, where the tape was rolling around, and we had to come to Ashland, but it hadn't shown on TV yet. And the closest TV was like 30 minutes away. I wrestled him at the National Guard Armory in front of about 500 people. And once again, right in the middle of the ring, he laid down, 1, 2, 3. I threw the title down on top of him. The place went. Those memories, so many, because as I don't want to go off course here and get you thinking one way or the other, but as Buddy told me one time, he said, "God put me with so many talented people." And I didn't think about this at the time. Such as yourself, Bobby, he goes, "I was always blessed to be booked with great talents such as you." So when someone else tells you you're a great talent and they work their ass off to make you look good, that means a lot. So those are the type of memories, My first match, I still remember it. It was down in Hayside, Virginia. Sorry about that. Something was in my head there. What a thought. No, just kidding. No, I pulled those out somewhere else. No, ba-boom. Anyway, we had a street fight. I was at first match. Like I said, I wasn't really trained well enough so we street clothes. Me and this guy named Rick Newsom that helped me train. The thing about it, I wore like one of those thermal shirts to the ring. I was big and muscular. it was ripped down the middle of our race. So you just do the old thing, pull it off, like Hogan or whatever. I'm like third match down there. And I remember taking it off and putting it on the apron at the ringside when no one come out there to get our stuff at the time. And I watched this old man, and he had a cane. He was in the front row. And I was wrestling this guy, and I watched that old man. It hadn't started yet. We're just talking back and forth. And I watched that guy take that cane, and he walked. And you've probably seen this old man at many shows. You know what I'm saying? If you put it in your head, if you've been to any wrestling shows, oh, that little old lady in the front row with the umbrella or whatever. This little old man, he got from front row all the way up past that rope like the other day, Cindy. This is over Virginia, so there's no rope. He gets to the ring, and he grabs my shirt, okay, off the ring apron. Well, what he does, I jump out the other side, and I come around on him. And when I say old, he could be my age now, or he might have been 90. I don't know. He was just old on a cane. And I wanted my shirt, so I grabbed it, and I said, "Give me my shirt, old man." Well, when I did, the way he had it wrapped around his cane, unbeknownst to me. So when I jerked his cane out. And he took a bump right there ringside. And of course, by now, and I'm the heel, and by now, but they see me do that. It was not planned or intended. And I certainly didn't want to knock the old guy down. Okay. And if he's still alive, then by God, he must be about 120 years old or something. So he's older than Methuselah, saying. But I jerked that shirt, and when it did, the arm, I guess, running around the cane, pulled the cane out. He took a bump, and the place hated me even more. You blah blah blah, call me everything. Of course, we had the match, but that's how I remember my first match being memorable, just because unintentionally I knocked some old man down. He took his own bump. I didn't train him. So, anyway, ask me another one or finish up, whatever you want to do. Up to you, ladies.
I'll ask you one more. That's all right. What do you think about the? Do you think it's going to hurt wrestling or help with the WWE UFC merger?
Oh man, good question. And I'm glad I didn't watch it today. I saw a couple of segments on my YouTube where it's coming up, and I knew some other people had already answered that. My honest opinion is this: it's without knowing anything other than just what I hear, because I haven't watched anyone else's opinion at this point. I think it's going to help, because I saw Dana White. This has nothing to do with this deal, but I saw an interview of Dana White a couple of weeks ago, and it was someone talking about him buying the UFC. When he first bought it, and what they have done. I think like $2 million, whatever it was, and look what they've done with UFC. And I remember watching UFC 1, 2, and 3. Then I actually wrestled Dan Severn, and he had just won one, like number 4 or 5. I wrestled Dan Severn twice in shoot fights that we had a gentleman's agreement, thank God, or I might not be here to tell you the story. But no, I wrestled and worked with, one of them guys, top guys back in the day, and still a complete gentleman, a great guy. I love Dan Severn. Anyway, to answer your question, with what they have done with their marketing and the UFC, and what is that? What's the company? Sorry. I'm drawing a blank that bought it. Endeavor, right? Endeavor.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's going to be TKO.
Yeah, I think that with the recognition they get worldwide, I think it's only they may make a bunch of changes. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to. And I hate when anyone loses their job in any career or field. But I personally think I don't see them doing anything except for continuing to grow and go up. You got that much money tied up, that much talent, that much. They've got a lot of TV deals. I think it only improves it. I don't know what it does to the actual product, but as far as for the overall profession of or WWE and what the company plans on doing, I can't see it doing anything but being good. And maybe that's just me with wishful thinking too, because I want to see success and see a product live on, And if they make changes, I hope they make them for the best, and I hope they do the best pay-per-views or the best, keeping their networks on Peacock or whatever. I really, and I hope, if anything, I hope they expand and hire more people, not get rid of people. I hope they bring in more and give more people opportunities. And I don't care if it's just house shows only. not even wrestling for the main event at the Mania, but people have to start somewhere, whether it's SmackDown or wherever. I hope people say, what is it, NXT. I hope they just expand everything. And I think they will on a worldwide level with what they're doing, in the UK and I guess Saudi and all that. I think they're going to continue to do good. Again, that might be wishful thinking, but I think also those guys are such businessmen, so far out of my league thinking and planning and plotting and the exposure they get. I would think it's good. Do you think so?
I'm hoping it is.
Yeah.
I guess I'm
maybe
just,
that's wishful thinking. Yeah, maybe that's me.
Yeah. It's just for me. I hope they don't make too many changes.
Oh, I agree. I hope for the general audience, myself included, of professional wrestling or whatever, just saying, I hope they do good. I really do, because I don't. It's a venture for them, and it might not be the most intelligent answer, but that's my answer, and that's about me. I had like 3 different videos popping up, Dutch Mantel and then someone else, and podcasts I watched where they was giving their opinion, and I just floated by them today because I had other stuff. First of all, I had other stuff to do and needed to do, and I haven't been on watching much today. As far as usually I catch my podcast on Tuesdays and I start going from there. So Mondays usually a really good day for me to watch a lot of podcasts. So I didn't see anyone else's opinion yet. So, and I knew I was doing this one. I like to come in like this anyway. So
Yeah.
All right, Destiny, you gonna be at training tomorrow?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do we have a lot of viewers out there or people watching us? We're keeping it real.
Well, I'm hoping we're getting a decent amount of views, so you all need to start subscribing. It's like people will watch, but we're not getting any subscriptions. So.
Yeah. Well, go subscribe. Cindy Yates at the Keep It Real podcast. Go and meet Destiny. Come and see her one day as the Neon Enigma. See her as Giggles for now.
Yeah.
Shits and giggles or what have you, but she's coming right along. She's laughing all the time. But last Thursday she got in the ring and man, she got up and stood on her hands and went straight over and took a perfect bump. And like we was talking about, people falling in love with the business, and you seeing people do this and react a certain way. There was a couple other girls in the ring, and I was standing there and I watched her do it. And when she got it right, you just see that light go off, like, all right, that girl got it, but she got it. It took her like 3 or 4 times the first time. Then she tried a little bit more. Then by she's getting it, that one little bump, it's just something little, but to me, it's nothing. But when I see someone else doing it, I mean, I don't want to do it right now. Don't get me wrong. Just saying I've done it, but I've seen it. And when you see someone get something right, it does my heart good. You know what I'm saying? It's good for me because I'm like, that girl got it. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish you the best, because I want to see you do good. And there's certain people that I help in professional wrestling, and there are certain people I train in professional wrestling. I hope you become one that I train. There's a big difference, believe me. And a lot of that is just the respect and paying attention and admiration for each other, and also respect for the business that I care for and give back to. When you see that, when you see guys and girls out there showing that same respect and having that love and passion, you really do want to see them do good. You want to say, yeah, I had a small part in helping that person. And I say that because when I say that, I say it respectfully. There's other people that's had a huge input and a huge impact on my professional wrestling career. The Malenko families, my second book. And I spoke to Dean last summer. I got to see him again, fortunately. But Joe Malenko did a little bit in my second book where it's just what others are saying or something. And Joe had a real nice little thing. He goes, when you have just a small part of someone's career and see them do very well in a business that you love or something like that. I'm thinking, he said this about me. That's, he's speaking on behalf of his dad and his brother and his family, And so I know it was a huge impact. But to him, he says small impact. Well, to me, that's why I say that, because I might have had just a little something to do with this person succeeding. If it's just that little bit, and if it is a big impact, that's great. But if it's that little bit that I'm blessed to hear, and that's what it's me. You can't put a price on that money wise. You can put that million smiles out there, that million people that you helped or entertained or performed in front of or what have you. You know, they see your talent. You know, so anyway, thanks again for having me on a podcast. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you tomorrow. And everybody remember to go buy Bobby's books. You can go on Amazon and type in his name, and you just take your pick. And also, you know, check out what FTC's doing.
Yes.
There's shows coming up.
Yep. We have September 30th, 2 weeks on a Saturday at Alumni Gym in Ashland, Kentucky. And then also we have October 31st at the Ronay Theater in Ironton, Ohio. So those are 2 upcoming events. I may know about another one, but I'm not going to speak about it right now. But I do know we have some events, and that's a good thing, because that keeps people happy, and hopefully fans in the local tri-state area to get to come out and see some good, the premier professional wrestling in the tri-state area, and we are becoming just that. We really are. But thank you for Cindy. Thank you, Destiny. I appreciate y'all very much.
Thank you. We'll see you next time. Thank you.
My pleasure.